Right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Alix Steel. We're counting you down to the closing bell. And here to help take us beyond the bell, it's a global simulcast with Massar and Tim Stenovec. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, television, radio, and our audience on YouTube. Massar,
yes.
Another down day, fourth straight day of losses that we've seen for markets here in the U.S. and globally. I don't know, Carol, is this the start of something or just a minor speed bump?
Yeah, listen, folks, pull up your S&P chart on the Bloomberg terminal and you take a look, and it really does feel like from the bottom or the lows of late October of last year, we really had a clear move up to the March highs of this year. It does feel like we're rolling over, and, you know, we've pierced that 50-day moving average on the S&P 500. So I got to say, Romaine, it does, and Tim, we've been talking about this, it does feel like we're rolling over here a little bit.
Yeah, Abigail mentioned that this morning, like the idea that a little earlier today that when the stock market opened higher, then we just saw bearish moves for the remainder of the day and stocks selling off for the remainder of the day. That certainly could be a sign of it. I also want to point out that it's the longest losing streak going back to January. And right now, stocks in the S&P 500 trading at levels, or the index trading at levels last seen since February of 2024, February 21st. So kind of taking a time machine back a couple months here.
I guess my question is, when are we going to see the buy the dippers come in? You know they're gonna. A, there's a lot of cash on the sidelines, and B, you have many that are even waiting for that kind of correction. So when do we see it? Do we have to have more of a significant downturn to that 200-day moving average, or tomorrow are we going to see
Unless you put your
some
cash
upside?
in, like, what, a money market that's now actually paying you something, right?
Yeah, 5%.
All right, as we get the closing bells here in New York on this Wednesday afternoon, it goes into the books as another down day across the board. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, well, that actually fared the best on the day, and that's still going to end the day in the red, down about 0.2% as we wait for these numbers to settle. But keep an eye on the S&P 500, a move lower by about 29 points or about 0.6%. You talk about those technical levels. At one point here, it came a whisper away from breaking below 5,000. 5,022 is where it's going to settle on the day. The NASDAQ Composite down about 182 points or 1.2%. And the Russell 2000 is going to close out the day down 19 points or about 1% on the day. And Dow Transports, Carol, down 259 points or 1.7%.
Interesting to see that on Dow Transports. If you were an airline stock, though, you did pretty well today. The overall group, the S&P 500 airline group, you know, I got to say, Alix was really outperforming the group overall, up about 6%. I'll get into one of them in my gainers in just a moment, but man, really some outperformance there.
I'm just taking a look at IMAP here. It looks like a lot of red. Tech, no surprise, is one of the worst underperformers here. Real estate also closing down 0.8%, despite the fact that yields were falling today. And then you have discretionary, energy, and industrial, so the cyclical guys trading in the red. Utilities, though, doing pretty well today. That sector up by about 2%. I'm trying to click through to the actual stocks, but I'll get that for you guys. Don't worry.
All right. Get back to us on that.
I'll get back to you.
All right. I mentioned airlines, really some outperformance. Thank you, United Airlines, because that stock, whoa, up more than 17% in today's session, surging the most in more than 3 years, going back to November of 2020. So quite some outperformance. This after the company forecast better than expected profit this quarter, tempering concerns that the Boeing aircraft delays and regulatory pressure will put some expansion plans at risk. Remember, FAA looking into also kind of some of the operations over at UAL as well. So again, as I mentioned, sparked a rally in the overall airlines group. Eli Lilly, some outperformance there at its highs today, up more than 3%, finishing the day with a gain of about 0.5%. The company coming out and saying its weight loss medicine Zepbound improved breathing problems in 2 late-stage trials of patients with obstructive sleep apnea, so some outperformance. And one more related to that Eli Lilly news, Inspire Medical Systems. That went up almost 10% in today's session. The Wall Street community defending the device maker after that Eli Lilly data came out. Basically, they make devices for people with apnea. So nonetheless, some outperformance there. But we get some earnings, right?
Yeah, we do. CSX. We love us trains. That company reporting earnings for the first quarter, 46 cents a share, a little bit stronger. The estimates were for 45 cents. Operating income coming in at $1.35 billion, also slightly above estimates. I'm just trying to get through their press release, and I'll keep looking after this as well, because they're going to be very much impacted by the Francis Scott Bridge collapse in Baltimore, because they have to reroute a lot of stuff that is in Baltimore through their their train line, so that was going to be a little bit of a headwind for that. The stock looks to be down by about 1%.
Yeah, interesting too. Just
or
taking
up 1%.
Just taking a look at their volumes here. I mean, I thought it was interesting. You're seeing those volumes actually go up about 3% in the quarter relative to the prior quarter in 2023 here. 1.53 million units on the intermodal side. Volume was up 7%. On the coal volume side, volume was up 2%. But this is the interesting one, and this might be why we saw some softness in the trucking companies. Merchandise volume, which is basically a lot of the goods that you and I, regular consumers, buy, according to CSX, that was flat.
Yeah, because we're not going there. We're going to United. We're taking planes. That's what we're doing.
Planes, we're doing trains, we'll do automobiles later. I should say that revenue for the quarter declined 1% year over year. The company said that lower fuel surcharge, a decline in other revenue, weaker trucking revenue, and reduced export coal prices offset gains in merchandise pricing and higher intermodal and coal volumes. First quarter revenue, as you mentioned, Romaine, flat sequentially.
I will say also the president and CEO in the press relief, Joe Hinrichs, saying, looking ahead with favorable trends across many of the markets we serve, we are eager to build on our momentum over the rest of the year and beyond. So a little bit in terms of the outlook. Again, shares of CSX and the aftermarket guys up 1%.
And let your boy out before you get to the decliners, Tim. We are waiting for some other earnings, including from Alcoa and a couple others.
And I'm already waiting for Netflix tomorrow afternoon, but I know I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Yeah.
You got time.
Alex, I'm going to let you take some time to look through CSX. I want to talk a little bit about decliners, chip stocks specifically. NVIDIA and ASML, companies that I want to talk about. ASML down 7% today. Chip stocks in general under pressure. The stocks finished down 3.3% today. Look, ADRs of ASML fell after the company posted orders that fell short of analyst expectations. We saw Taiwanese and South Korean chip makers hold off on buying the company's most advanced machines. I did say that NVIDIA was down about 3.9% in the S&P 500, worst point, decliner on a points basis. Speaking of transportation, got to take a look at what happened with J.B. Hunt today. Romaine, you mentioned transport's taking a hit, down 1.7%. J.B. Hunt finished down more than 8% today. It is one of North America's biggest transport and logistics companies. Intraday, it fell as much as 13% after the company reported disappointing results and tepid demand. It sent a warning signal across the sector. At one point today, J.B. Hunt was down the most since March of 2020. And finally, let's take a look at U.S. Bancorp. Shares slid today by as much as 4.7%. Finished down 3.6% after the company lowered its full-year net interest income guidance. Now sees net interest income between $16.1 billion and $16.4 billion for the year, down from $16.6 billion plus.
All right, got another one reporting. Las Vegas Sands reporting stock jumping around in the aftermarket. Let's get to the numbers. First quarter adjusted EPS, 75 cents a share, 15 cents better than what the street was forecasting. First quarter net revenue, a slight beat, $2.96 billion. The estimate on the street was $2.93 billion. So consider it, right on the money there. First quarter adjusted property EBITDA, $1.21 billion. The estimate is $1.19 billion. And again, first quarter EPS, this is not adjusted, 66 cents a share versus 19 cents a share year over year. So interesting to see what they have to say. Their sales and profit exceeding analyst projections. Macau's casino industry continuing its recovery from some of those pandemic-related restrictions. So it seems to be helping that out there, Alex.
Yeah, and also strong Macau and Singapore. Mm-hmm. The narrative going in was that Macau was going to be strong, but that Singapore was going to have tough comps from the post-COVID era. But they also delivered record levels of financial and operating performance, Romaine.
Also getting some earnings out of one of the first regional banks to hit the wire. This is on Bank OZK, formerly Bank of Ozarks here. And you are seeing some improvement, not only on the top and bottom line numbers, but on deposits and on net interest income. Net interest income coming in slightly above estimates, 4.7% versus a street estimate of about 4.69 here. Also seeing a stabilization in those deposits, and the net result of it all is a beat on EPS, $1.51 a share. The street was looking for $1.46. The share is moving higher, 4% in after-hours trading.
I just want to go back to our Chris Palmieri weighing in on Las Vegas Sands, if I may, and saying the company, obviously, we know controlled by the family of the late Sands founder Sheldon Adelson, bought back $450 million of its shares during the period. So seeing, that's certainly been a theme that we've seen on a lot of earnings, certainly in the last quarter, but we'll watch for it in this quarter. So a little bit of a buyback there.
Yeah, management also making a point that they're talking about the ongoing recovery in Macau continuing during the quarter, making investments there to enhance the business and leisure tourism appeal of Macau and support its development as a world center of business and leisure for a recovery in travel and tourism spending as it continues to progress, Alex.
Yeah, the shares are down though,
yeah,
right?
they are.
Yeah, I wonder what we're not seeing. that is showing that, because on a level, it looks like it's a pretty strong quarter, particularly the read-through from Macau and Singapore in particular, as I mentioned, we necessarily weren't expecting, but the stock's still down by almost 2%. I'm just taking a look at the run-up that we've seen to maybe explain some of that as well. It's pretty flat on the year, too. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, really. It's interesting. So we'll look for some more commentary, certainly on the earnings call. Las Vegas Sands, as Alix mentioned, down about 2.5%. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Our cross-platform radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. We call it Beyond the Bell. We'll see you again, same time, same place tomorrow.